The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. That statement was made by a man called Zig Ziglar. And so a step ahead of your life is very, very fundamental. Welcome to yet another episode under my perspective. And thank you very much for joining us, those watching us from our country called Uganda, the motherland. Thank you very much. And those following us online, of course, we want to appreciate you for all the comments, the likes, of course, the subscription that you're making. Thank you very much, and we don't take your time for granted. And of course, those viewing us from across the overseas, thank you very much for finding time to listen, but also comment and making sure that this program makes an impact to you. My name is Fred Makubuya. By profession or my area of discipline is I am a clinical psychologist. And of course, psychology has many branches. Of course, if I am to bring this to your notice, of course, there's counseling psychology, and of course, my brothers under that branch, of course, their center of focus is to help people who are going through difficult moments, to help them gain momentum, become the best version of themselves, and be able to, of course, own the challenges around them and be able to move. We have the organization psychology, and of course, we have the industrial psychology, the education psychology, and then clinical psychology, which is my branch of psychology that I subscribe to. It's a branch of psychology that is concerned with the sick. And so that states the fact that 80% of my time I spend it with people who are going through very difficult moments. I call them difficult moments because when you are in this session, you listen to what people are going through. You'll begin to appreciate that there is a lot that needs to be done. So people who are going through what we call depression, people who are going through what we call anxiety, others have lost their dear ones, and so they have gotten into states of trauma. Others are going through, they are grieving. Others are filled with what we call suicidal thoughts and ideation. And so 80% of my day-to-day work and activity, whenever I wake up in the morning, I am able to listen to such people's stories, and that humbles me. And so that is exactly my area of specialization. But amidst that, it's important that you and I gain the momentum to what we call discover who we are, build what we are, and be able to move on. In today's episode, I want to focus my thoughts, my feelings and behaviors. Remember, the core focus of all these episodes focuses on the 5 domains of life. And so the 5 domains of life, the first one is the cognitive domain. And when I talk about the cognitive domain, I mean basically your cognition, how you look at things, how you perceive things, how you understand things. So the first domain is the cognitive aspect of your life, of my life. The second one, I look at your physical, call it the somatic, your physical well-being as a person. The third one is your feelings. So how do you feel when certain things rotate around your life? I know when many of us, when we are going through crisis moments, when you look at how people behave, you will literally tell and understand what they're going through. So we look at the cognitive, we look at the physical, which is the somatic, we look at people's thoughts, we look at people's feelings, and finally we look at what we call behavior. So all these episodes center and rotate on the issues that, if not addressed, have an effect on those 5 core domains of life. Today I want to focus on how and what is it that we can do to make sure that we build our self-personality and become either the desired version, or how can we be able to form an identity that will help us deal with the core issues that affect our day-to-day functioning. And of course, I want to begin by saying, for us to get to the places where we want, I want to talk about the 3 stages, or the 3 Ds. The first one is called what we call self-discovery. I know so many people in this country who have reached the age of 50 years, but when you ask them whether they are able to define who they are, They'll tell you, yes, they know, but when you try to read certain features around them, actually what will come to your mind is that despite the fact that, yes, they have reached that stage, but the issue of self-discovery has not yet been attained. So when we talk about self-discovery, what is it that we are talking about? Remember, when we talk about self, we are not talking about any other person. We are talking about your identity in the 5 core domains. We are talking about you as a person. And then fundamentally, there are questions that must keep revolving in our lives on that day-to-day basis. So when we talk about what we call self-discovery, I am basically talking about who you are. Who am I? Who you are. Now that question sounds to be a very simple question. I know when many of us go for interviews, some of the questions that will come across are questions of who you are. And I am sure that many of us have passed that question, but I'm also sure that many of us have actually not passed that question. So self-discovery, we are basically saying, coming to a point of knowing who you are. So the question is, whichever age bracket that you are in, the question is, who are you? And when I talk about who are you, this question may probably point to where are you coming from. That can be one of the versions. But who you are is a very, very critical question. If we are to deal with the issues that affect us on a day-to-day basis, the issues that affect our cognitive, how we think and how we reason, the issues that affect how we feel, that's the feeling domain, okay? The issues that affect our thoughts, how we think about issues, the issues that affect our physical or the somatic domain, the issues that affect our behavior. So the question of who you are is very, very important. So the who you are may point to the fact that, so what is your strength? Where is your energy? If I want to admit you, if I want to invite you to wherever I am, if I want to be part of your company, do I know, I beg your pardon, who exactly you are? That sounds to be a very simple question, but it's a question that requires us to sit down and think and think and think about ourselves. So who you are is a very fundamental question. What is your strength? Remember, one of the things that help us survive in the day-to-day life is coming to a point of knowing who you are, what is your strength, what is your weakness. So the moment we come to a point of knowing, but Fred Makubuya, what is my strength? Okay? And then what is my weakness? Knowing those two will help me. If it is about weakness, how do I do? What am I supposed to do in order to deal with my personal weakness? Because the public must not be able to know what my weakness is about. And so what is my strength? Because remember, many of us are surviving and thriving on our strength. So what is your strength as a person? What is it that makes you different in terms of your abilities that will propel people to get their phones and call you and invite you either for a function or for a gathering to come and provide a particular service? So the point of who you are is very critical in helping us deal with the issues that affect us on a daily basis. And so who you are, what is your strength, what is your weakness, what are you able to do? Remember, the 21st century is about being versatile. What you are able to do is one of the things that is going to help you revolve in our day-to-day basis. And so, friends and colleagues, despite our professions, despite our tribes, despite where we come from, the question of who we are does not segregate us in any point. There are areas where you go to and what will save you is what you are able to do. There are places where you will climb and what will save you is what service you are able to deliver. There are places you will go to and what is going to save you is what unique service you are able to offer to the community. There are places you are going to and the only thing that will make you unique from the rest of the other people are those unique services that you are able to do. One of the things I keep thinking about on a daily basis is how I better myself. And the question of how I better myself defines my day, defines my day-to-day goals, defines the things I am going to do, defines the people I am going to meet, defines what sort of books I am going to read, defines what sort of thoughts I am going to develop on a day-to-day basis. So the first beginning point of you driving yourself from one place to the other and defining who you are, defining the true personality, the true version of yourself, is when you sit down and ask yourself this fundamental question of, but who exactly I am? That is the beginning point of you being in position to get from one place and then to the other. Now, I am aware that there are people who say, Fred, I know myself. This is my strength. I can be able to speak. I can do this. In fact, give me an opportunity and see whether I can't do what exactly other people are doing. There's that category of people. And for sure, I know there are many people of this kind of nature that I've studied with. I have sat with them in the same class. I mingle and interact with them on a daily basis. But only what they have done is to discover who they are. They have not gotten to the next stage of their life, which I want to talk about, and that is the stage of what we call self-development. Can I tell you, when you pick a mango from any other garden, it is still in its shape, but the ability to get this good juice, which you'll sell, of course, more expensive than the original mango, is an extra step that certain people have actually taken. So for you, having discovered who you are is not enough. The ability to know that I am a good orator, the ability to know that I am a good clinical psychologist, the ability to know that I am a good camera person, the ability to know that I can communicate to the masses very effectively, the ability for me to know that I can mobilize people, thousands of them from one destination to the other, the ability for me to be able to speak to the people and then they carry my message is very important. But there is another step which is key and significant. For you, the ability to build, to develop that skill is very, very important. Now, let me challenge you, friends. There are people who have discovered themselves and they have gone ahead to build that skill. Yes, you know how to speak, but what is it that you are doing to make sure that you build that oratory skill? Are you reading? Which books are you reading? Are you writing? If you're not writing, so what are you doing? Are you researching about certain things in relation to your area of strength? Do you know there are courses online, courses to do with public speaking and presentation management? Are you aware that those courses exist? Okay. Are you aware that if you want to develop what we call your mobilization skills, all these courses are online, that if you don't have money to sit in a training and conference, you can actually sit down, get your phone and be able to read all these things. These are some of the issues that will help us develop what we call our skill. So having discovered who we are, the concept of going ahead to develop who we are is very, very important. So what are you doing to make sure that you develop that you have discovered in the first stage? Remember, all these issues are rotating on the 5 domains that I alluded to in my preamble. And the very last thing which I want to rally all of us to adopt is the skill of what we call self-development. Now, let me tell you, at one point in my life, I thought I was a good orator, but I did not do enough to develop that skill. Little did I do enough to make sure that I implement what I do. However skilled you are, however self-identified you are, however equipped you are, but if you have not developed that skill, in fact, even if you have gone an extra mile to discover and develop, if you do not put into practice those you have discovered and those that you have developed, sometimes life may be hard. In fact, you may sit down in your home with that skill and then it is not leading you anywhere. So this concept of self, how we develop it, how we discover it, how we develop it, and how we implement it is very, very, very fundamental. I would like to appeal to the following people because I know you are very key in helping us become better versions in terms of self-discovery, self-development, and then self-development. The parents, you are very key in helping your children discover who they are, develop that skill, and implement those God-given skills. Talk about the society where we are. You are very fundamental in shaping our day-to-day functioning in relation to self-discovery, self-development, and then what we call self-deployment. Talk about the religious leaders. You are very, very fundamental in helping us, giving us platforms, validating us, encouraging us, thanking us, and making sure that we get to the point of discovering who we are, developing those skills, and becoming and putting into practice that we have discovered. I would like to appeal to you that one of the skills, one of the things that can help you earn a living in the current day-to-day life, it could be your skill, your mobilization skills. It could be your rhetoric skills. It could be your persuasive skills. It could be your leadership skills. That may make you difference, and your difference is what actually going to sell you. This is my perspective in relation to self-discovery, self-development, and self-deployment.